Metropolitan Transportation Authority. I've been with the agency for 3 years and a half, and believe me, I came out of the private sector, used to work for Jacobs Engineering, so I know a lot of the consultants that are here, and I'm very proud to say that the position that I have today with the private sector has been very rewarding, very challenging, very time-consuming, a lot of sacrifice, but it's like people like you that make these efforts really be successful. And had the opportunity 30 years ago to be a member of DART staff, so I have a lot of comments with Mr. Edwards, because I actually lost my job because in 1988, I already said my age, wow. We lost a referendum. DART lost a referendum, and so we had to go back to the drafting board. 1 year after that happened, the agency invited me again to be an employee, so I went back because transportation is my thing. And we were able to put together the initial system plan that actually makes today what DART is today. And I'm very pleased to see that Dallas went through a lot of struggling in the 80s, and now it's really a model transit agency for the entire country to follow up. So in Capital Metro, we want to be there one day because we're not there yet. So starting with what we're doing in Capital Metro, give you a quick 2 slides of what Capital Metro is. We are a transit agency, and I'm gonna use here my technology. Capital Metro's mission is to connect people, jobs, and community by providing high quality and sustainable transportation choices for our community. We have 7 member cities. We're smaller than DART in that regards. Austin, which is basically encompassing the entire Travis County, Leander, Manor, Lago Vista, Johnstown, Point, Venture, San Leandro, and Port Joseph, incorporating Travis County. Our service, we have a 32-mile commuter rail between downtown Austin and Leander. We have 2 lines on Metro Rapid that were opened just recently in 2013, the first one. And I don't know if our members of our Region 6 from FTA here, we want to thank you for helping us to get some of the funding that allows to provide that service for our region. We have Metro Express, which is the highest customer satisfaction service that we have today. And we have our Metro Bus, which is basically our local bus. I'm not going to go too much into the detail of each one of those services, but here they are. Our rail line is a very interesting project. I'm going to get more into detail in a little bit. What are we doing today? In 2016, internally, the long-range planning staff, we decided to engage in a long-range feasibility plan for our Metro Rail. And not working. There. Okay, we decided to engage on our Metro Rail plan, and the reason why we thought that this was pretty important is give you a little picture of the situation in the central area. Regional highway congestion, more than 200 vehicles travel on segments of I-35 in Travis County. I-35, US 183, and State Highway 71 are one of the most congestion road segments in Texas, and this is in 2013. Other highly congested roads in the region include US 183, Mopac, US 290, and Loop 360. Our Metropolitan Planning Organization, out of their 2040 plan, had that graphic, which is, in my opinion, pretty dramatic. Even if we were to be successful in implementing all the road projects that we have in that plan, we will not be able to get out of congestion. Actually, congestion is going to get worse. And so we are looking at other type of changes in behavior, culturally speaking, to remediate the situation, but it's very, very dramatic to see that a trip that it was taking now 1.20, meaning 20% higher than what it should take, even with all the infrastructure by the years 2040, will get worse. And so that is the challenges that the central region has today. And we are trying with Capital Metro to do whatever is possible to do that. And so in 2012, several partners, contributing agencies, we all worked together in developing what we call Project Connect, which is our high-capacity transit plan. And we are trying to move forward to implement some of the projects that are coming out of this exercise. A lot of community involvement, a lot of dialogues going on, a lot of cooperation, because the challenge is not necessarily to create the plan, but it is to fund the plan. And that is what the situation is becoming very, very difficult. Metro Rail today, which is the topic that we want to talk and share with you, it's a system that had a very interesting start. I wasn't part of the agency, but if you were to believe that the system was built with $140, $160 million only, it's almost impossible to believe. 32 miles of commuter rail service with 8 stations. But I can tell you why it was possible to build at that cost. The system today is deficient in the way that we are lacking a lot of infrastructure. We basically operate on a single track, and we only have 4 units. We have 6 total, but 2 have to stay in the maintenance segment. So nevertheless, the system is pretty successful. We are at capacity. Basically, our trains during the peak time are looking more and more like a China trains or Japan trains because they're very, very, very busy. And unfortunately, we're looking and trying to partner with everybody to bring the funds that are required so that we can continue expanding the service. I can say the Capital Metro is pretty proud. We were the first one in exploring with this technology. Stadler GTW is actually the new generations are the ones that are being contemplated by the Texas Rail Project, by the T. And I don't know if the Cotton Belt is looking into similar technology or not. That's part of the game. But a very, very flexible technology. This is the alignment. We have, like I mentioned, a service that is limited by the infrastructure that we have. We operate about 36 total runs during the week. We have a limited service on Friday night and only 28 runs on Saturday. We don't operate on Sunday. And again, that is because of the limitations that we have with the infrastructure. In addition, Capital Metro owns a freight line, and it was very exciting for me to see that on the previous panels we have members from those partner private sector companies. Watco is running our freight line for us, and HRSA, I saw somebody from HRSA in the previous panel, is actually operating our rail project. So they know everything about the challenges that we have in the system. Today, our system is actually, what did I do? There you go. Today, our system is truly a commuter rail system, but with the growth that we have in the corridor, we know that it's going to be basically a bidirectional line. It's in the middle of the system. This is showing you the lightings in the morning, and then what happened in the reverse peak. So everybody is coming from outside, going to downtown, and then reversing. But the development that is occurring along the line is incredible, and so a lot of the stations and a lot of the private sector actually is asking Capital Metro to consider either building more stations along the alignment or relocating the stations to better serve their development. So it's a very, very neat situation what is happening today. This is our vehicle. Currently, Capital Metro is working and trying to get in a separation element that doesn't allow us to run at the same time that the freight is running. So that's the reason, because we have to have time separation. So pretty soon our vehicles are being retrofitted to be able to run at the same time the freight is running, so that we can have a much robust system and more frequent system. That is being worked today thanks to a grant from the Federal Department of Transportation, Federal Transit Administration. Other pictures about our stations. They are pretty nice, humble stations, but they are working pretty well. They were designed to be expanded in the future, and now we are really contemplating how we are going to do that, because the demand on the system is just incredible. More pictures of the system, just to give you an idea of what we're talking about here. And again, we are at capacity. This is downtown station, and if I show you a picture of the morning or the peak hour, it's just incredible. We are moving forward with some improvements on the line. We are, believe it or not, that station has been since 2010, the day that the system opened. It was developed as a temporary platform because, unfortunately, politically, at that time, they didn't know where the last station was going to be. A lot of time has gone, and we still have the temporary station. Thanks to the Texas Department of Transportation, we were able to obtain a grant, and so now we are really building a permanent station in downtown. It's on final design, and we are pretty excited about that. We are also, thanks to the Federal Transit Administration, working on adding sidings to increase flexibility in the system. And as you can see, we're doing this because of the community is really asking for more and more service. The results of the feasibility study that we just did contemplated different alignments. All of them are rail assets. Some of them don't belong to Capital Metro, but anyway, we wanted to be sure that the modeling efforts that we were doing were going to reflect a system integration. So we did multiple scenarios, multiple evaluations, and the results are pretty dramatic. And I would like to focus, I don't know if we have a little red dot, but if you look in the last column, the last two columns, for example, on the existing red line, when we talk about population in this area around our stations, we can see 359% increase from the year 2010 to 2040. And that is really dramatic because it is just on the stations. If we look at the next slide, and we see, this is the green line. You can go and see in every particular station how dramatic is the change in regards to population density. And the second table is in regards to employment, and it's pretty much the same. So the need is there. The corridor justified that. It's just now trying to find the money to be able to move with the projects. The next slide is about the proposed green line. Capital Metro owns that line. It's a service that we have on freight only to Elgin, and we are looking for the opportunities to convert this to commuter service, interacting with the existing freight service that we have to Elgin and Manor. And again, you can see the changes in population and in density. And this is just some of the examples that were taken out of the study, but very dramatic. So the lines have a lot of potential, and we're looking for opportunities to get them and moving forward to final design through Project Connect, which is our community involvement strategy to be able to get the support of the community and move forward. We have also what we call the proposed orange line, which is in the middle of the MOCAN corridor. It's a freight old alignment that now is owned by the Texas Department of Transportation. It's a very interesting conversation because the alignment is owned by many different entities, including different cities. City of Austin, everybody kind of a pitch some time ago, and the Texas Department of Transportation is also a partner on this corridor. And so there are the challenge of this line is there are many interests along the corridor and specific benefits for each one of the municipalities around the corridor. And so building consensus internally as far as what we want to do with the corridor has been a little bit of a challenge, but we're getting there. Our Metropolitan Planning Organization is leading now an effort to move forward and trying to define what exactly are we going to do with this corridor. 50 feet of the right-of-way are designated for a mass transit component. So Capital Metro is taking the initiative to look at what exactly is going to happen in this corridor. The community is very interesting. As you know, the traffic in Austin is pretty bad. And so this is one of the solutions that we are bringing into the system. And again, if you look at the numbers, it's very dramatic, the change, and we're not too far from 2040. Another proposed line, we talked a little bit in the morning, our partners, Union Pacific, the Lone Star Community Development District, at the time that we concluded this study, it still was a project. Unfortunately, it's no longer a project today. Nevertheless, the corridor is very important, and we think that we need to continue conversations to see what possibilities can happen for a possible commuter rail interacting with Union Pacific. And I think there is room to do that, and I think the community would like to see it. Again, you can see the corridor is very strong. It's in the middle of the city, Austin, passes through all the economic development and new activity centers like the Dominion in North Austin. The alignment is just, few meters away from it. Another line that the community has been very interested in is a connection of the existing Metro Red Line to the airport. So we studied that one. We don't own any right-of-way, so this will be a challenge for Capital Metro to move forward. It will be a high capital cost to create that alignment, but nevertheless, many people in the region are interested in the connection to Bertrand International Airport. The evaluations, to give you a quick scenario where we had been presenting to the community, we use a light kind of a FTA criteria to see how these alignments will do in a FTA a scenario in regards to competing for funding. And the preliminary results that we have, the red line continues to be pretty strong. Am I in the right? Yes. And as you can see, the red line, the green line, very important, the MoCan corridor. The difference is really not that big. Airport and Lone Star, because of the difficulty of controlling the right-of-way, really didn't score great. But anyway, the first three ones are very important for the future growth of the region, and we know that they will be significant in complementing the economic growth of everything that is happening in that area. So we are in conversations about trying to develop a preliminary phasing and how we move forward. Definitely the red line is our priority. We need to finish that project. We need to complete the double track, expand the stations. We are, thanks again to the grant, we are acquiring additional 4 vehicles that are going to allow us to run the service now at 15 minutes frequency during the peak time, extend our service hours to 10 o'clock at night, and provide service during the weekend, which is something that the community has been asking for a long time. And finally, in 2018, we are going to be able to do that. So we're looking forward for that. The green line is a very interesting corridor because, as you know, some of the challenges that Central Austin has, the region actually has, is that it's becoming extremely expensive. The lack of affordable housing has become one of the major concerns of the community. They are voicing it, and they are voicing it very loud. And the city of Austin, as well all the other cities, are trying to do something. And so the reason because the green line doesn't come in first is because in an area that doesn't have the density yet. So as you know, when you go through the FTA criteria, density is a big factor. However, the opportunity that a corridor like this provides, where the land is not that expensive yet, is the opportunity to provide affordable housing. Some other changes that are happening demographically in the area is that the service force, labor force in the area is growing rapidly because of the kind of amenities that the city is bringing into. Downtown Austin is becoming pretty expensive. There is a lot of entertainment. There is Formula One. There is all these music venues that the city of Austin provides. So it's attracting a lot of people in that requires a lot of service. Many new hotels are being built in downtown, and so that is labor intense. But unfortunately, labor can't live in downtown, and they are having a hard time in getting from outside to inside. And then the cost of living in Austin is also increasing dramatically, and I'm sure Dallas and Fort Worth have the same situation. So transportation is really key element in really bringing that balance so these members of the community can actually have quality life too, like anybody else. And then the MoKan corridor. The MoKan corridor actually is crucial. We are very interested in achieving results and pretty soon have a project that comes out of the interaction and the conversation that we're having with the Texas Department of Transportation in our metropolitan planning organization. Some preliminary cost. What we find is that the technology is actually pretty good because we own the right of way. It's really, it doesn't require, in comparison with new corridors or a light rail system in an urban area, the cost we think that it's not that big of an element. It's just gathering enough support and having the community to be behind so that we can actually fund this project. So we're looking right now and designing the financial strategy to get us there. And so hopefully we'll be able to do that and move forward with the expansions of these projects. This is a very conservative scenario. We would like to have these lines in place a lot sooner. But again, we have to be careful with what we promise to the community too. Again, this is more about the evaluation and cost effectiveness. Currently, because of the lack of infrastructure, our trip in the red line is expensive. But with the improvements and with the demand that the corridor has, we believe that we're going to be able to make a dramatic change in the cost per trip. And so we're pretty excited about that. And there are some examples about the other lines based on the modeling forecast that we have done. And the process that we have is the last slide. We are going through a major public involvement process. It's Project Connect, and we are making it pretty easy for the community to participate. We simplify the process. We have big ideas, bold starts, real solutions for real problems, and then a true path for implementation, the financial component. And we are in the middle of all this. We are planning a major event on March 4, and the community will be able to look not only at the red line, the green line, the orange line, the rail program, but also everything else that is being done in Capital Metro. We just finished our short-range plan, which is Connections 2025. This panel is about connecting rail with rubber tire. Service planning is just completed, and Capital Metro will introduce a new service, which is basically a high-frequency service throughout the service area, 15 minutes or less all day long from 7 to 7, which is a major commitment for the agency in regards to funding, because operating that type of a level of service is pretty expensive. But that's what the community wanted, so that's the commitment that Capital Metro has to the community. And I believe that's my last slide, and thank you very much.